Now we are checking the SMV, Superintendencia de Mercado de Valores. In some countries like the United States, the Fed has both functions, the SDS function and the SMV function. In our case, and in the most part of the countries, it's divided. But we have a project to merge both superintendencies, because as the capital market is growing or the money market is growing, more entities are looking over the capital markets or money markets to obtain financing, and more investors are going to these markets to invest more money there. If these markets grow, then are more important than before, and in some cases these markets compete with the financial markets. And in this case, when I said financial market, I am meaning the market that is composed by banks, cajas, SPVs, insurance companies, and some others that we have seen in chapter 1. And in this other case, we are other participants in this market. And the SMV is protecting the interest of these clients too, and regulating the operations of these entities. And it is necessary to regulate and to supervise this market, because if we don't do so, the consequence could be that we can have many defaults. And if we have many defaults, people wouldn't have confidence in this market. And in this market, confidence is something very, very important, more important than in the insurance or banking system. In this case, the SMV is an institution that depends on the economy and finance ministry. What is its mission? It's to promote the stock market. And they promote the stock market because the stock market is necessary. It's a necessary vehicle to have more operations, more transparent operations. People will go to this market to obtain financing, to borrow money, and they must ensure the proper management of all the companies. Because in the stock market, you will find many companies that are pricing its stocks or its bonds in the stock market. And as they are pricing its stocks, people will invest in these stocks because they will check if they could obtain a good return over their investment. And it is necessary that companies could have the opportunity or the alternative to issue more stocks, and investors will invest in these companies, and they could obtain more capital and to finance their evolution, their growth. And on the other side, the SMV will regulate the accounting of these entities. And why they want to regulate this, the accounting? Because we could compare the financial statements of our companies in our country. If all financial institutions, all insurance companies, all industrial, mining, commercial companies that are pricing its stocks in the stock markets follow the same accounting rules, you can compare their financial statements, and then you can decide if it's more attractive to invest in some company than in others. At the same time, the SMV coordinates the accounting rules with other SMV from other countries. And you can see that in the most part of the countries, the accounting rules that these companies are following are nearly the same. So you can compare if it's a good alternative to invest in a transport company of Colombia or in transport company of Brazil, because the financial statements, the return that you could calculate from both are comparable because they are following the same criteria. At the same time, the SMV has functional, administrative, and economic autonomy, and it is necessary to be so, because If they don't have this autonomy, then the government or the economy and finance minister could influence over them following political reasons. And this is not the case. The SNB must follow technical reasons. Those reasons that could help this market to grow, to build confidence, and so on, in order that we could have more alternative to channelize from deficit, from surplus units to deficit units. The SNB has another functions. They prepare studies, promotes and regulates the security market. You could find that the SNB web page many kinds of studies or information that you could check, and then you could know about the companies that are pricing in the stock market. At the same time, they are trying that more people invest or borrow money in this alternative. What is an example about these studies, for example? They are controlling what are the operations that natural or juridical persons are doing in the market. And when they control them, they can determine if someone has privileged information. And what is privileged information? Privileged information is one that you have before the others, and then you have an advantage. Nobody can use in the market privileged information. Everyone must know the information at the same time. If someone has privileged information, they could be subject of punishment. They could go to the jail. They must pay an amount of repairment. Okay? And they could establish that, for example, person X always buys when the price is going to rise, and always sell when the price is going to fall. So if he has this behavior, always he has this behavior, it's an indicator that these people has privileged information. The logical in the market pricing is that everyone must know information at the same time. But for example, if you are working in a mining company, and this mining company has discovered something that is important, more reserve, mineral reserve, then if you are working there, you have this privileged information. Then they establish rules that determine that if you work in this company, you can't buy this stocks, or if you buy it, you only can sell it 5 years later. So if you buy it and you want to obtain the short-term profits, you can't, because you can't sell it before 5 years. For example, this is the case. Or if you want to elude this rule, then you can say to someone, you can advise to someone to buy it and to share the benefits. Okay? But if they always see that someone obtained this information, they will investigate these people because they know that they have privileged information. They ensure the transparency of security markets. And how can they ensure this? Because they will check if the market has the correct price formation. And how they check that this market has correct price formation? Because they could determine that they have a demand, they have an offer, and they can control who is offering, who is demanding, how much is the price from every offer and demand, and how many stocks are they offering and demanding. Because all this information is centralized in a software, and they can study this. If they can see that this offer and demand, this quantity, this price doesn't have an adequate or a correct behavior, then they will take an action against this. They promote the appropriate companies management. So if all these companies that are pricing in the stock market, if all these companies have and management, it's necessary that they are following the corporate management rules. These corporate management rules are good practices in the companies and assure that these companies will have good functions, internal good functions. They are promoting people in a good way. They have good relations with suppliers and clients and so on. And they must every year, and if they have important changes previous 1 year, they must report these practices to their investors. And these practices, you can find these practices on the web page of the SFB. Okay. On the other hand, you have here regulate and control the collective fund management. In the case of collective funds management, we have two kinds: the SAFIs and the mutual funds. Both are collective funds. We have seen the difference in chapter 1. And how can they regulate and control these collective funds? But by their statutes. These entities must establish in their statutes which kind of investment will they do, which kind of risk are they running. And in the case of SAFIs, which is the period that they will be alive in doing this kind of operations, and what kind of assets, financial assets, or some other assets will they buy under their operations. And by law is a synonymous of statutes. Okay, they are synonymous. And as they see that these entities are doing something different that they have established in their statutes, then the consequence will be that they will apply their rules over them because they have deviated their behavior over what they have established. What is the mission of the SFB? Promote the stock market and security products and collective fund system efficiency. Promote. This is important because promotion in this case is nearly the most important function of these entities, as they are as they don't have diffusion, another channel of diffusion about their activities. So the supervisor must establish courses, must establish interviews by magazines or journals in order that people will know what is happening in the market. And on the other hand, as they promote these markets, as they regulate these markets, you will find that all collective fund systems are operating in a good way. And in the case of security products, we have two kinds of security products. They have the securities and the bonds. They are really securities. They represent, in the case of stocks, a share over a company. In the case of bonds, they represent a share over a debt. And in the other way, we have securities about products. So you can buy a certificate of silver, of gold, or zinc, and so on. In our country, we have traded certificates about cotton, about potatoes, and so on. We have not trade a big variety because we don't have enough buyers about this product. We have more buyers in foreign stock markets than in our own country. It would be interesting if we could centralize our production in our own stock market and we could attract foreign investors to operate in our markets in order that these operations would done here. If we could do so, the consequence will be that we could obtain more importance in the world. We could obtain more growth in our economy because we could have more operations. More people will come here to operate. And what are other benefits of this growth? is that if you sell, for example, you are the producer of cotton, for example, and you must carry this cotton to Japan, to the United States, or to Europe. In some cases, you must negotiate with the buyers of your product, who will assume which cost, with activities, and so on, which responsibilities. But if you sell a certificate, then the buyer must do all the activities of this operation, of this exportation. Then you have transfer risk, you have transfer cost. It's something that could be very interesting and very important if you can do so. But as our market is a small market, we don't have this kind of activities in the volume that it's necessary to have in order to obtain this evolution. And how they promote and obtain efficiency in the securities trading, in the collective funds operation, through regulation and supervision and dissemination of information. Regulation, they establish what can you do and how must you do this operation. Supervision, they supervise if you accomplish with these rules. And dissemination of information, they will diffuse information in the market by reports, by the web page, by interviews and so on, of what is happening in the market and what are the news about this and what can you do in order that you could invest in this market. They build trust and transparency among each participant. And in this case, it's more important, trust and transparency than in other sectors. Because if you buy something, you only receive a certificate. If you buy a stock, you know that there is the enterprise. You know that you are the owner of a share of this building, of this machine, of the shares and so on. You know that that things are there. But if you are buying stocks, perhaps it's not so easy to establish a relation between a paper, an electronic paper, with the goods that this entity has. So it's necessary to build trust. In the case of banks, it's easier because you know that your money is there, and as your money is there, and you can withdraw it at every moment or in a period that you have agreed with the financial institution, you could have more comfort. On the other hand, we have here COFIDE, Corporación Financiera de Desarrollo. It's a mixed economy enterprise. Mixed economy enterprise means that they have two kinds of owners. One kind is the state, and the other kind are private. In this case, the state is the owner of the 98.5% of this enterprise. And this entity, as the SNP, the SBS, has economic, financial, and administrative autonomy in order that they could take technical decisions, the better decisions to accomplish with the mission that they have. And they must be not influenced by the government. It depends from the Ministry of Economy, and the Ministry of Economy has an entity who represents him as the owner. This is FONAFE, Fondo Nacional de Financiamiento de Actividades Empresariales del Estado. FONAFE was 40 years ago a very important entity, as it was the owner of nearly the 40% of the entities that generate nearly the 40% of the gross national product of our country. But nowadays, that the government has followed privatization processes, FONAFE is not so important now because the state doesn't have many entities. What is the mission of COFIDE? COFIDE contributes to a sustainable and decentralized development of Peru. This is the mission of them. So they will give priority to all the people who are asking for a credit in the interior of our country, not in Lima. If they must decide, if they must finance a project from an investor in Lima and from an investor in Arequipa, they will decide for Arequipa because they try to develop the country in a decentralized manner. They provide financial resources and promote investment through products and services that meet the requirement of an increasingly competitive business. So, if they invest or not invest, if they lend money to someone, it's because this project is a project that could be very competitive. It could be internationally competitive. So, if they accomplish with this, they are contributing with the development of the country, as these entities could support the invasion of foreign companies that could be very efficient. So they finance only efficiently projects. They are a second-tier bank. And a second-tier bank means that they don't lend money directly to borrowers. They lend this money through financial institutions. So they lend this funds to the financial institution, and the financial institution lend it to the borrowers, to the direct borrowers. And their operations are under the SBS supervision. In this case, COFIDE will obtain resources from multilateral agencies. Multilateral agencies are, for example, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the International American Development Bank, the European banks, the Corporación Andina de Fomento, and so on. They could obtain international funds from international commercial banks too, which are operating in short term, and they lend in the most likely short term too. But in some cases they help the development of our country and lend in long term. And they obtain funds from the domestic market, capital market. They are issuing what is called debt instruments. Debt instruments is the proper name of an instrument. Like we could say bonds, like we could say Jaime. It's from a person, from an instrument. It's not a generic name. And when they obtain these funds, the most part of these funds that are coming from multilateral agencies or from commercial banks are in foreign currencies. So they are running a risk of money exchange. They only obtain nuevos soles from domestic capital markets. What is the process? A business asks for a loan to financial institutions. These financial institutions establish that this entity must be a micro company, a small company, or a medium-sized company. And this is a long-term, it could be a long-term loan. And financial institutions don't like to lend money to this kind of institution for long-term. But they see that it is a good project. So they go to COFIDE and COFIDE finance this operation. These entities will finance, in the most part of the cases, this project with only the 10% of the capital investment. COFIDE, in the most part of the cases, will invest 70%. And the business sector will invest the 20%. By this way, these entities are doing some kind of leverage. What kind of leverage? They maintain reserve to lend their money, their financial sources to other operations because they only channelize the 10% of their sources here. They don't like to lend more because for them it's too risky. To end, we have here that COFIDE has another support programs. For example, they help small, micro, and mid-sized enterprises by training them in business management. It's free cost they are free cost courses. You can go to COFIDE, you can read which plan they have, which is the agenda of these courses, and you can go there and follow these courses. They can help you to obtain information about markets. They have data about different markets, and you could obtain information about these markets there. If they don't have the information, they can guide you in order that you could know where you can obtain this information. They won't give you information about specific companies. They will give you aggregate information about the sector, an economic sector, in order that you could do a market survey and establish what will be your opportunity if you begin a business there. And about the World Bank, we will speak in the next class. Thank you very much. See you on Thursday. Remember, we have to practice next class.